I just didn't feel like going. I wanted to stay home.
Couldn't concentrate on anything other than the pain.
And I was taking medication. I didn't feel myself. I didn't like it.
A human being can't live this way. He can't.
I mean, it was just a miserable thing.
Back pain has limited the lives of millions of Americans. But the good news is that new technologies are being created at a fast pace to better treat this widespread problem.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Hill. Over the next half hour, we're going to take a look at many new technologies and meet actual patients who have benefited from the revolutionary advancements in spine medicine.
Always one step ahead, the Southeastern Spine Institute presents the Age of Spinal Medicine Technology Edition.
I feel an obligation to our patients to stay on top of the emerging technologies in spinal medicine.
Our patients expect more from us at Southeastern Spine Institute, and it's our goal to give them the best treatment that they can get anywhere in the country.
What do a world-class athlete, a restaurant owner, and a youthful grandmother all have in common? We're going to find out in just a little bit. But first, a medical mystery. A walk in the park turns into an agonizing effort. What happened to David Mack?
Got so bad until it was a struggle, an absolute struggle for me to walk from the park into the car.
It was a sunny day in Charleston. South Carolina Representative David Mack and his wife were out for a stroll. But this day was about to turn out to be quite the opposite of a walk in the park.
All of a sudden, I started having some pain in my left leg. And it started to get worse and worse. And then it started to go to my right leg. Yeah, we just needed to get that form.
David Mack serves in the South Carolina legislature and also hosts a daily radio show in Charleston.
Moving all the time, driving back and forth from the Capitol at 110 miles from Charleston, Columbia, and back. Involved in a lot of community issues, running a business, having a radio show, very active life.
Sure, David's life is active, but it's not necessarily strenuous. So what on earth would have caused that dramatic leg pain? We'll find out later. Did you know that when it comes to new technology, the Southeastern Spine Institute is not only one of the first in the nation to perform the artificial disc replacement, it is a place where many new medical developments get started.
We've done 10 FDA studies now in the last 20 years. We're also just starting an FDA study on a minimally invasive surgery for spinal stenosis, an exciting new technology.
There's no other place in the country that does more than we do in terms of staying on top of the newest developments in spinal medicine.
Peggy was an active grandmother, but her chronic neck pain robbed her of enjoying time she shared with her 2 young grandchildren.
And if they came running and they were going to grab and put their arms around my neck, I kind of tensed up and cringed, because you don't ever want to tell a child that they can't hug their grandma because it hurts. So that was the worst parts of it for me. That was the part that, to me, ruined my quality of life.
But Peggy was fortunate enough to be one of the first patients to receive an artificial disc during its clinical trial at the Spine Institute 6 years ago.
Before the artificial disc, I was taking pain medication. There was fear of everything that I did, that I was going to hurt my neck, that something was going to injure it and make it worse. And now there's nothing that I can't do. I don't take anything, and I have absolutely no pain, no numbness, nothing.
And years later, Peggy is still enjoying her pain-free life and her grandchildren.
And I talked to Dr. Johnson, and he said, well, everything, the disc is exactly where it was when he put it in there 4 years ago. It still has a full range of motion, and I can put the entire weight of my body on my neck, and I have absolutely no symptoms, no pain.
For many, the artificial disc replacement was nothing short of a miracle.
I feel blessed that it was there, and I was at this place in time when doing such amazing technologies available, and have been able to do anything I want to do now. It's truly something.
Now, back to David Mack.
to get to the Capitol from my office, I walk down the hall, make a right, go down an elevator, go through the parking lot. When I get in the parking lot, I make a right, then another left, then up a ramp, then up some stairs, then through the basement, up another flight of stairs, and then I'm into the chamber. So it's a lot of walking.
Since David gets so much accomplished on foot, he relies on his mobility for his livelihood. That's not unusual for anyone, but when your legs are in pain and you can't do your work, it's important to take action fast.
And I had made plans to go to my doctor, and it got so bad I had to make an emergency visit to see what had happened.
So what did happen? Let's start by finding out exactly where the pain occurred, in the legs or in the back.
No back pain, just the legs.
If there's no pain in the back, what is the origin? And why is there pain in both legs? As a part of the treatment to include surgery, we'll learn all of the answers about David coming up. The Southeastern Spine Institute always tries to treat its patients without surgery if possible.
There are many patients who really fear coming to spine specialists because they fear that they're just going to get cut on. And that's the last thing that we try to do. What we try to do is treat them in a fashion that's going to be the most preservative of their body tissues.
Things have changed, and compared to years gone by, we now have a multitude of treatment options that we never had in the past. We can do different injections than we've never been able to do before. We have new machines where we can actually either chemically or using heat change the way that different nerves work, so pain can be decreased.
We're going to do the most conservative treatment and get them doing better without having to go under the knife.
What happens when a world-class athlete and a doctor himself insists on an operation?
And there was nobody at that conference that would operate on me. I was mad. I was upset.
The Age of Spinal Medicine Technology Edition, brought to you by Southeastern Spine Institute, will continue.
A physician and medical professor, Thaddeus Bell possessed a competitive spirit and a strong sense of adventure, which gained him status as a world-class athlete after the age of 40.
In 1985, I started running as a master's track and field athlete when I was 40 years of age. And 2 years after that time, I had developed into a world-class sprinter, and in 1987 I won the world championship in the 100-meter dash in my age group down in Melbourne, Australia.
Thaddeus trained religiously to maintain his world-class status, but in the process, his back took a toll.
I began to do a lot of training in order to maintain my world-class status. I became a little obsessed.
Starting, I want an inch forward, inch forward, inch by inch forward. That's what, leaning forward, that's what.
Sprinting and training and lifting weights and coming out of the starting blocks just multiple numbers of times because I wanted to remain on the top and because a lot of people thought that my success in the beginning was a fluke.
Thaddeus proved himself in 1989 by once again winning the world championship in the 100-meter dash. But by the age of 47, Thaddeus's athletic career would come to a screeching halt.
I was competing in the world championships up in Buffalo, New York, where I was slated to be in the final 3, and my back started hurting me significantly. Did not win, came in 8th place. And after getting back to Charleston, I decided to go get my back checked out, and I went to see Don Johnson.
Thaddeus Bell is someone that I've known almost all my professional life. In fact, as a medical student, Thaddeus was one of my teachers. We became good friends, and I was honored many years later when he came to see me as a patient. At that time, he had begun his sprinting career, He developed spinal problems, and over the years I've been able to help him in a number of different ways, and the goal has always been to keep Dr. Bell running.
He told me that I had collapsed the disc in my back. My competitive spirits came out, and I said, well, we got to operate.
He decided that he needed to have an operation. I felt very strongly that he did not.
I immediately said to him, well, let's get another opinion.
And I decided that what we would do is go to a conference together and allow ourselves to have opinions by other surgeons across the country.
So I went to North Carolina along with the films, and he presented me as a patient.
It was the ultimate in second opinions, a showdown between a doctor and a patient who, by the way, is a doctor and the teacher. An assembly of physicians at a conference would settle the dispute.
Being a physician, I could appreciate where he was coming from because he was very stern with me, was not intimidated by me saying to him that I wanted to get another opinion. So we got 7 opinions, and they all came back in his favor.
And I think to Thaddeus' surprise, but not to mine, the opinions that we got were overwhelmingly in agreement with me.
So what was the remedy?
Thaddeus had a fracture of one of the vertebral bodies, one of the bones in his spine. Rather than operate on it, we decided to rehab it to allow him to get back to his running.
But would he ever return to world-class status?
And I never was able to get back to #1 in the world. But I went back to Australia. I was asked to be on the 4x1 team for the United States of America. I did compete in that. So I got another gold medal, and after that I retired.
For teacher and student, it was a happy ending.
I'm not a world-class athlete anymore. I'm running for a different reason now. I'm running just to maintain my health. But the bottom line is that he didn't operate on me. That was the right move to make, and I appreciate it.
It was not particularly difficult for me to take care of Dr. Bell. I knew what was the right thing to do, and ultimately he realized that I was the spinal surgeon.
Like Thaddeus, many people suffer from athletic injuries, but what about back conditions caused by everyday work? You know, when we were preparing this program, one man's compelling story unfolded before our eyes. A restaurant owner from Colombia who ended up flat on his back. He couldn't get up at all. And though he was immobilized, he agreed to our interview.
If I stand, it gives me like electric shock that goes down my leg. Or if I sit, it puts pressure on my leg and it makes my leg go numb.
The Age of Spinal Medicine Technology Edition, brought to you by Southeastern Spine Institute, will continue.
Jerry Castor had travel plans for Christmas. Celebrating the holidays in Tennessee was easy, but the journey home turned a 4-hour road trip into the start of a nightmare.
I noticed it when I was coming back from Asheville. In fact, we went to Tennessee for Christmas, and then on the way back, I noticed it very, intense pain in my lower buttocks right there. And then as I got home, it never got better.
And it wasn't long before Jerry was completely immobilized.
I've been in a bed for 5 days. I don't wish this pain on anybody.
So Jerry decided to call the Southeastern Spine Institute.
Jerry was sent down to us emergently because he couldn't stand or walk. He was essentially somebody who was laying on the exam table, unable to sit up, unable to stand up, unable to walk even a few steps.
He could barely walk. He actually laid down on the floor of my office.
Well, it starts on my buttocks right here and runs down my leg and then down my calf, and it comes down and then almost reaches over. It kind of hurts for me to do this. It comes over my toes. Right now my toes are tingling. These 3 toes right here I can hardly feel.
Had an MRI scan that showed he had an extremely large ruptured disc in his back. A ruptured disc or herniated disc is when the cushions between the vertebra push backwards and crush into the spinal column and nerves, and in a case like Jerry's, it can cause such severe leg pain and weakness that you can't even stand or walk. His pain was so profound that we knew that he had to have immediate surgery, and that was the only solution for a ruptured disc of this size.
It's a incredible feeling inside you that tells you, look, you've got to do something about this. You can't take this anymore. You have to do something.
New technologies and accomplished surgeons make a complicated operation into a routine procedure. That kind of expertise would mean everything to Jerry and his family.
No, I just hope everything goes well, and I'm praying for it to be.
But time was of the essence.
If you let a ruptured disc sit on a nerve for several weeks, sometimes it can cause irreparable or irreversible nerve damage.
We were able to get the surgery scheduled the next day. He went out and got a hotel room, spent the night so that we could get him done early the next morning so that he could go home.
He had his surgery and was able to go home immediately afterwards.
It's overwhelming to see that, you can go into surgery, thinking that you're going to be scared, hopefully it's going to do it, and then when you get out of it and everything was fine, it's really a good feeling. I'll commit to being healthy on it.
Right, you have to commit to, fitness.
That's right. He assured me, he looked at my x-rays and said that everything's looking normal and everything, and he told me I could start driving, which was good, so I could get back to work. And
when you have a back problem, you need to go through physical therapy and learn to do exercises to strengthen the muscles around your back and protect your back. And the main thing that we want to assure for Jerry is that he's not in there having another operation because he didn't take care of his back after the surgery.
To be a manager of the business and keep things going, and back to my old routine, you might say, other than just lifting heavy things, just trying to keep it rocking.
Now let's solve our medical mystery. David Mack's legs were in excruciating pain, so much so that he couldn't walk. But what was the cause? Was his case similar to Jerry's, or was it something different altogether? Let's see what the doctor said.
It was determined that it was the back from an x-ray. They can determine what, but they knew it was the back. Once they said back, I knew I was going to call Dr. Don Johnson.
David's leg pain is not unique. Many people with back troubles experience only leg pain. Leg pain can be a serious problem if left untreated. It can lead to muscle weakness and eventually paralysis. In David's case, we had an emergency MRI scan done and we found a large disc herniation with a fragment against his spinal cord. We immediately took him to the operating room and were able, with a microscopic technique, to remove the disc fragment off his spinal cord, relieving his leg pain and allowing his muscles to regain their strength.
That's what can happen sometimes as relates to pain. So, I would urge folks, and I tell folks all the time on your radio program, if something is amiss, get it checked out. Don't mess around.
Now David can return to work pain-free.
How you doing?
Just fine. It's so good to see you again.
How's your summer been?
Fine.
Just as the technologies of spine medicine have grown over the years, so has the need for specialized medical centers that deal only with the spine.
Price of gas nowadays. People don't want to make 4 or 5 trips to find out what's going on with their medical condition.
The Age of Spinal Medicine Technology Edition, brought to you by Southeastern Spine Institute, will continue.
This is why the Southeastern Spine Institute has created this wonderful facility with everything for spine care under one roof.
Here is just that everything is in one location. It makes it more convenient for the patients. It helps speed up their care, improves the quality of care because of that speed, so they can get their diagnosis more quickly, and then they can go ahead and get started with treatment.
They got all of that in there. You don't go from one place to another. All that's right in that building.
They've just got so much experience, and they're always trying new techniques.
It's just some people you can trust, I think, to take care of you.
Just been wonderful having this facility. We're able to accommodate a lot more patients, and so it's been gratifying to be a part of that.
In keeping with its mission of always being one step ahead, the Southeastern Spine Institute has opened an in-house surgery center created with the patient's best interest in mind.
Being able to do outpatient spine surgery is one of the great advances in spinal medicine in the last 10 years.
The Department of Health and Environmental Control has recently awarded a certificate of need for an ambulatory surgery center here at the Southeastern Spine Institute.
This is a unique opportunity for us to become the only ambulatory surgery center in South Carolina that specializes in spinal surgery.
Just the thought of having surgery in an outpatient setting and going home shortly after, much as you might with a knee arthroscopy, obviously the costs are much less than going into a hospital setting.
Patients just feel more comfortable coming into the Southeastern Spine Institute's own facility rather than checking into a hospital.
One of the advantages of having an in-house surgery center is that when patients come in, they've already been here before. They're comfortable, they understand the way the place works, they understand the staff, and they know that the surgeons are looking after them and very specialized in terms of making sure they receive the best total spine experience they can possibly have.
Surgery patients tend to have better outcomes because they are more relaxed. They're more comfortable. They feel like they know our staff, and it puts them in a better frame of mind going into surgery, and the recovery process is much quicker.
You're able to get up, probably could walk to the car and go home, but we do carry you out in a wheelchair. But you're able to go home with your family. You're able to return back to work quicker, get back to your normal activity, and hopefully doing the things that you love to do.
Doctors at the Southeastern Spine Institute use a team approach with the latest technologies, working together to diagnose your specific back or neck problem.
I had a herniated disc in my neck that I had been dealing with for years and years, and it would just get aggravated and flare up. And then I had been seeing Dr. Johnson for it for a couple of years, and he knew that I didn't really want to have surgery. So we were doing different options to treat it. I had the cortisone injection in my neck, and that helped for a little bit. And then finally that disc just ruptured and was pressing on that nerve and causing me so much pain that the pain pills are, nothing would help. So Dr. Johnson did another MRI, and sure enough, the disc had gotten worse. And then he did surgery on my neck.
We think that because everybody in the operating room only specializes in doing spine surgery, then they're more efficient and it's better for the spine patient.
I did work in surgery and worked with all the back doctors. It was my choice of who I wanted to go to after working with all of them. And Dr. Johnson was the one that I chose.
At an institute such as ours, they need to understand that they're going to be operated on with a team approach. There's going to be many heads collectively together and hands collectively together taking care of them.
I've seen them work. They do a great job. They get in there and they've done, necks and backs so long and so often that they know exactly what to do when they get in there. They get in there and get the job done and get out, and you have a quick and nice recovery. Once I had the surgery and realized how wonderful it was to be pain-free, I was sorry that I hadn't done it sooner.
The primary draws for patients and staff alike is that spine health is all we do. That's our only focus here. We're all looking to try to make this place the best in the country, and I think we're very well on our way towards achieving that goal.
They just did such a great job, and the whole staff was easy to work with.
At the Southeastern Spine Institute, we are always looking for ways to make spinal medicine not only better, but easier for our patients.
Some people in the past would suffer, and it may be weeks before they could get in to see a doctor. We have work-in appointments every day, and so hopefully nobody will have a long wait if they need to be seen and treated.
The patients are better educated now, and so we certainly do spend more time. And it's nice in that we do have the MRI scanner right here. We can have the images immediately on the computer in the patient's exam room. We can go over that with them and educate them further what exactly is their diagnosis and what we can do to treat them.
Here's the deal. It's a team. We all work together, and everyone's role is important. What it really comes out as a family approach to the treatment of the patients.
Next, the high price of hard work.
If I wanted to live, I had to go see somebody.
The Age of Spinal Medicine Technology Edition, brought to you by Southeastern Spine Institute, will continue.
Physical labor can reap great rewards, but sometimes when you work hard, you put off taking care of yourself. Kerry Howard is a prime example.
I've always been a hard worker all my life.
Kerry is a builder, very creative and determined to get the job done.
I I could outwork any 20-year-old man there is.
Robust and healthy, he's not in the habit of seeking medical care for any reason.
I ain't never been a doctor guy, fella. You know, I've always been old tough redneck. You've been coming on, and I kept putting it off. And finally got to where it was no more putting off. If I wanted to live, I had to go see somebody.
Kerry's condition had progressed so badly, he'd become bound to a wheelchair.
I done went to a wheelchair, but I got in a wheelchair and I hobbled in there. And if I'd have been a sissy, I told him, I said, if I'd have been a sissy, I'd be crying right now. That's how bad I hurt.
We take care of folks who most of the time have been hurting for quite some time and unfortunately have come to the end of the road and need some options to get their pain under control.
Had an MRI scan that showed he had an extremely large ruptured disc in his back.
I was scared. I ain't scared of much things. I was scared. But that man made me feel like I was at home when I went to his place.
Years ago, when we did surgery on a ruptured disc, somebody would have to be in the hospital for days. Even what they called microsurgery involved making an incision 2 to 3 inches in length, spending several days in the hospital. Now the technology has improved that we can do this endoscopically, which is very similar to arthroscopic surgery or very similar to the type of surgery somebody might have on their knee. We can go in there with a tube that's no bigger around than the diameter of this pen. We can actually put a tube or a wand into the back that's about the size and length of this pen, and through cameras and magnification identify the ruptured disc and take it out and let the patient go home that day.
It made me go from a crying little sissy to a man again. He cured me. He just didn't put a Band-Aid on me. He fixed me.
Thank you for tuning in. We hope that you have a better understanding about how medical technologies are helping people with debilitating back and neck pain, helping them get back to normal, active, healthy lives. Join us again next time. We're going to explore new technologies for chronic pain patients, solutions for those with back pain that have never been seen before. And of course, you're going to hear more success stories from people just like you.
Most places you go in and they're, your number, or just sit there and I'll call you, but I felt like I was, somebody was really caring about me.
I have recommended several people to them because of the results that I got were so terrific.
I've sent a lot of patients to him, and I tell them, if you just follow his directions, you'll do just fine. I know from personal experience.
Go to Southeastern Spine, they'll fix you right up. I mean, I know they will because they did me.
If I moved away from here, I'd come back to Southeastern Spine. I'd never go anyplace else.
When I went to the doctor and it was determined that it was my back, there was nobody I was going to but Southeastern Spine Institute. That was it.
The Age of Spinal Medicine Technology Edition. Brought to you by the Southeastern Spine Institute. Always one step ahead. For more information on spinal medicine, please visit our website at southeasternspine.com or call our offices at 866-SPINE-50.